Hello, my name is Autumn Repass, and I did my research project on the author Barbara Park. Barbara Park is well known for her series, the Junie B. Jones books, and she has also written many throughout her career. So a little bit of background on Barbara Park. She was born on April 21st in 1947 in Mount Holly, New Jersey, and she died on November 15th of 2013 after a long battle with ovarian cancer. She married her husband Richard Park in 1969, and she has two sons, David and Stephen. In one biography that I found about Park, she mentions that she was never really interested in being a writer when she was little, and that she thinks that's what separates herself from other writers, because most know at a young age that they want to write because they love to write or they love to read, but that was not the case for her. And actually, she states that she loved to be the class clown, so I think maybe that is what sparked her interest to write a series about Junie B. Jones, because Junie B. is a spunky little kindergartner who learns a lot of life lessons at a young age. Throughout Barbara Park's career, she was nominated for countless children's book awards and has won more than 40 all over the nation. Just to mention a couple, she won a Bookseller's Choice Award in 1999 for the Junie B. Jones book Beauty Shop Guy, and then she won a Bluebonnet Award in 1985 for her book Skinny Bones, and she won multiple Young Reader Choice Awards, like I said, all over the nation. So Park published her first book, Operation Dump the Chump, in 1979. And she has many other books that she has written aside from the Junie B. Jones series, but the first book of Junie B. Jones was released in 1992, and that one was Junie B. Jones and the Stupid Smelly School Bus. She ended up writing 28 of the Junie B. Jones books, and we'll come back to that in just a second, but I'm going to talk about some other popular books of hers. One is Skinny Bones, which is about a really small boy who joins a baseball team, but he has a really big mouth, which tends to get him in trouble. And then there's The Graduation of Jake Moon, which is about a young boy who his grandfather is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he has to learn how to cope with the situation and to help his family through this difficult time. And Mick Hart Was Here is another one that kind of deals with the same situation. A little girl loses her brother, Mick, in a bicycle accident, and she also has to learn how to cope with a very difficult situation. And then there's The Kid in the Red Jacket, which is about a kid who his family moves to Massachusetts, and he's having a really hard time making friends, but his neighbor is a 6-year-old little girl, and she loves him and wants to be his best friend, so he has to realize that he can't take for granted the little girl because she's the only friend that he has. So back to the most popular series, the Junie B. Jones books. It was a series about a kindergarten girl named Junie B. Jones, and the B stands for Beatrice, but Junie makes it very clear in all of her books that she does not like the name Beatrice. The reading level of these books is centered toward early second grade, but I think children of all elementary ages love the Junie B. Jones books. And although the books are kind of like short chapter books and there aren't really many pages, Barbara Park paints her pictures with her words, and it helps children to imagine it for themselves. And one of the reasons that this series is so well loved is that it's so relatable for school-age children. In the first book of the series, which is The Stupid Smelly School Bus, she starts as a kindergartner, and as the series continues, she becomes older and enters first grade. And in an interview with Barnes & Noble, Park is asked how she makes these stories of Junie B., and her response was, "I find that when I'm struggling to think of how a 6-year-old would feel about something, I just have to go right to the common denominator, find the simplest way that you can look at an object or a problem, and not muck it up with all the stuff that adults do and overanalyze." So, although a lot of people love these books, myself included, there were some people that do not love these books. The Junie B. Jones series, loved by many but not by all. So the Junie B. Jones series was actually listed as number 27 out of the top 100 books banned by the ALA in the year of 2004. The challengers were mostly parents and teachers, and their complaints were that the books use incorrect grammar, they make up words, it encourages bad behavior, and it is not beneficial to children's academics. So these complaints actually got the books pulled from public schools and libraries, and when they say that they don't like that she makes up words, like one of the books is called Junie B. Jones and the Yucky Blucky Fruitcake. Well, clearly Blucky is not a real word, it's just a made-up word, and the parents disagreed with that, and they didn't want their children to think that they can just make up their own words and that it can be a real word. And some examples of the bad grammar in the series is from Junie B. Jones and the Mushy Gushy Valentine. There's another made-up word. And one time she says, I thinked and I thanked, and she refers to Lucille as her bestest friend. And then she says, Lucille did mad eyes at me, which means Lucille, gave mad eyes at me. But she uses kind of, her own little way of saying that. And in Park's defense, she says that Junie B. Jones is a kindergartner and a first grader, and kindergartners and first graders do not know how to correctly speak. So that was just her being in character, and that she should not be blamed for that. That the series would not be as believable and as relatable to kids if she had used correct grammar, when that's not realistic. So even though the Junie B. Jones series is not really one that kids could learn academic lessons from, it is a series that they would learn life lessons from. And some of the positive uses that can be utilized in the classroom is developing children's interest and teaching character education. In an article called Developing Children's Interest in Reading by Suzanne Stauffer, she is an associate professor at Louisiana State University, and she defends the challenges against the Junie B. Jones books by saying that librarians have searched years for the best strategy to convince children that reading is fun. She explains, however, that while you may get a child interested in reading, having them involved in the right kind of books is an even harder task. And while some people felt that the Junie B. Jones books encouraged bad behavior, because one of the books is called Junie B. Jones Cheater Pants, but that book is about Junie B. cheats on an assignment, but she gets caught and learns very quickly that cheating is wrong, and the punishments that come with cheating. And so I wouldn't say that it's technically encouraging bad behavior, but it's just teaching kids right from wrong and the morals of life. And in another article written by Courtney Tyra called Bringing Books to Life, Teaching Character Education Through Children's Literature, she states that teachers and administrators who wish to employ character education often emphasize traits that can help an individual become successful in society, such as trust, integrity, loyalty, honesty, fairness, respect, ethics, and citizenship. And children's literature allows a variety of topics to be discussed in reference to the traits of a character. And so two of Park's books, The Graduation of Jake Moon and Mick Hart Was Here, both deal with death and the emotions and reactions that these characters have while experiencing a certain situation. And author Courtney Tyra says that teaching children to empathize and problem solve through literature selections that have specific morals may help to decrease the number of students who internalize with such behaviors. So basically, literature is used to discuss unspeakable topics, and it allows students to empathize with characters in a lot of difficult situations that people don't like to talk about, such as death or bullying or lying or cheating or abuse or etc. But it can help them to realize that life is hard and that if they are dealing with something, that they may not be the only ones dealing with it. And these Junie B. Jones books clearly put that out in the open and can really help some kids. So for my lesson plan, I used the Junie B. Jones book, Something Smells Fishy, and I made it appropriate for 3rd grade using the objectives ELA 3.3, which is describe characters in a literary story, meaning their traits, their motivations or feelings, and explain how their actions contribute to the sequence of events. And I also used ELA 3.1, which is read with sufficient accuracy and fluency to support comprehension. So I will be using a whole group and a small group instruction during my lesson, and the students will have paper copies of the chapter that we'll read that day, and they'll need notebook, paper, and a pencil. And then I also have 2 worksheets that they will complete, which is a character analysis sheet and a character trait anchor chart. And for my direct instruction, I will introduce students to the concept of character traits, which is the attitude and behavior of a character. And I will give examples on how to find evidence from the book that supports these traits. So for example, I would say Junie B. Jones is respectful, and that's a character trait. But saying that Junie B. Jones has short hair is not a character trait because it describes her physical appearance. And then I will use the character trait anchor chart, and the students will write down a trait on a single sticky note and come and place it on the anchor chart, and this will help me to see if they actually understand the concept of character traits. So my students and I will discuss the traits on the chart and discuss if the traits are or are not real. And then I will introduce the book to the students, which is Something Smells Fishy. And I will also introduce the character analysis sheet that they will do later on in the lesson. And then for guided practice, I'm going to have my students popcorn read because kids love that. And we're going to read the first chapter of the Junie B. Jones book. And on their own piece of paper, they're going to jot down the character traits that they think Junie B. has within the first chapter. And so after reading the chapter, we'll discuss the traits and determine if they are or are not correct. And then the students will break up into small groups, and they're going to do a who, what, why chart. It's kind of like a graphic organizer, and they'll put who it is, which is Junie B. Jones, what traits she has, and why she has those traits, why the kids think that Junie B. has these traits, and the evidence that they found in the text. And for the independent practice, my students will silently read their story for the week from their Journeys textbook, and they will be given a character analysis sheet, and they will fill out the character analysis sheet based on the character in their story for that week. So it won't be on Junie B. Jones, it'll be on a different story, which will help me to see if the students actually understand the concept of finding character traits and determining why or why not it is a character trait. And for my assessment, the students will be asked to bring their character analysis sheet to me, and they will read aloud the character traits, and then they'll find the paragraph in the book in which they found the character traits and read it to me. And to close the lesson, the students and myself will review the concept of character traits, and I'm going to have them write a 1-paragraph story creating their own character and giving the character 1 to 2 traits of their choice. And then the students can read the story aloud if they wish. So in conclusion, after researching the works of Barbara Park, it seems that most of her stories focus on the traits of a character, how the characters react to situations, and almost all of them are centered around a life lesson. And although they are not specifically centered on academics, many life lessons can be learned from all of her books. And Park stories can be utilized in the classroom to develop children's interest in reading, as well as teaching character education. The life of Barbara Park will not be forgotten because her stories will be used in classrooms for many years to come. I am sure of that. And she will always be remembered as the other half of the world's funniest kindergartner. Thank you.